In this video, we will discuss some of the essential characteristics of content-based routing by exploring certain scenarios of implementing content-based routing. Content-based routing plays an important role in implementing enterprise integration patterns, as it helps us identify the content of messages. And on the basis of content, we can ensure that the messages are being sent to the right recipients or destinations for processing. The sample illustration figure depicts the implementation of a simple content-based routing architecture. Whenever we receive a message from the sources, they are passed on to the content-based router, which in turn identifies the content and uses the content to ensure the messages are routed to the right destination for processing. Now let's explore how the content-based is implemented in a loan processing system using the sample implementation figure. In this implementation, the loan agency system is the source of the message. Whenever we get a loan request, the loan agency system will assign a loan ID, and it will send it to the processing server in order to begin processing the loan request. The processing server then passes it on to the router, which then reads the content to decide which bank it will send the loan request to. There could be certain content using which the router can decide the route. For example, it could contain eligibility criteria. The router will read this content and then decide the destination bank to which it will route the loan request. Let's quickly explore another example or scenario of content-based routing using the sample implementation figure. The scenario is similar to the one we discussed earlier, as this scenario involves loan requests as well. When a customer sends a loan request, the request passes through certain tests where the tests are essentially dependent on the values of the customer's attribute. On the basis of the customer's attribute, the process manager, as illustrated in the middle of the sample illustration figure, will be responsible for passing the request through the verification process, involving the credit bureau. The process manager, after taking the request through the verification process, will then identify the right recipient bank that can process the loan request, based on the results of the verification process and the customer's attributes. Now let's explore a final example of implementing the content-based router, wherein this time the implementation involves Camel. A sample implementation of the content-based routing with Camel is provided in the sample figure. The sample implementation figure depicts the utilization of content-based routing in an order processing scenario. There can be various locations from where we can receive orders. In the sample figure, the orders are generated using FTP endpoint and HTTP endpoint. All the incoming orders are essentially accumulated in the incoming order queue, which is illustrated in the middle of the sample figure. From the queue,